Have you ever felt your blood run cold, just from a voice that shouldn't exist? I was walking through a dim African night market, lanterns flickering in the smoky air, and the shadows stretched unnaturally long. I thought I was alone, until I felt it, a presence behind me, watching, waiting, and then, softly, just barely audible, someone whispered my name, but no one was there. That was the moment I realized, some things in this world are not meant to be called out loud. The next day, I found myself drawn to a small antique shop, tucked in a narrow alley. Dust covered every surface, tribal masks, and broken dolls filling the shelves. And there she was, a porcelain doll, cracked, yet unervingly lifelike. And behind her, a shadow, a figure that shimmered like smoke, staring at me with hollow eyes. The shopkeeper's words echoed faintly. She's been waiting a long time. I shouldn't have taken her, but some urges are impossible to resist. She sat silently on the counter, her cracked cheeks and glass eyes reflecting the dim lantern light. A faint whisper, almost like a child breathing, drifted through the air. I blinked, and in her eyes I saw a tiny ghostly face staring back at me. It was fleeting, almost imagined, but I could feel it, the weight of eyes that had seen centuries. That's when the doll became more than just an object. She became a presence, a watcher. I carried her home through the empty African streets, the moonlight casting long shadows across the walls. Every step felt heavier, as if someone or something followed silently behind me. In the rearview mirror of my car, I saw a pale face pressing against the glass. But when I looked again, nothing was there. I tried to tell myself it was imagination, yet my heart knew the truth. She wasn't coming alone. Night fell, and the room seemed to inhale around me. The doll sat on the shelf, silent, unmoving, but silence has a presence of its own. Shadows stretched unnaturally, dancing along the walls. Above the shelf, almost imperceptible, crouched a small figure, a ghostly child staring directly at me. I told myself it was just a trick of the lantern light, but deep in my bones, I knew she was awake, and she was watching. At 2 a.m., I heard it, soft, deliberate, a voice that crawled along the edge of consciousness. My name, not loud, not harsh, but spoken with a sweet malice that made my skin crawl. I froze, pretending to sleep, afraid to move. The shadows grew darker, thicker, pressing into the corners of the room, and I realized she had learned my name, and she was testing me. The whispers didn't stop. They grew confident, insistent, echoing through the walls. Come, they seemed to say, and then the doll moved, not like a toy falling over, but like something alive, guided by unseen hands. Behind her, the ghostly figure of a woman leaned close, mouth open, as if teaching her how to speak. My room was no longer mine, it had become a stage, and I was the only audience. And then the footsteps began. Tiny, deliberate, appearing on the dusty clay floor. They moved closer, echoing in the stillness. I tried to tell myself it was the house settling, the wind, anything but what I knew. A small figure crouched in the corner, grinning faintly, watching. Each step was a drumbeat of fear, a rhythm I could not escape. One night, I awoke to find her on the floor, sitting perfectly upright, head tilted unnaturally, and behind her, the ghost towered, bending in ways that defied reality. My heart raced as I realized this was no ordinary doll, and these were no ordinary spirits. They were waiting, patient, and ancient, and I had walked straight into their game. I tried to ignore it. I read books, kept my eyes down, pretended the whispers didn't exist. But shadows moved independently, stretching across walls in impossible angles. I felt watched, judged, haunted. Every time I thought I was alone, a pale face would appear behind the pages, smiling faintly, reminding me that silence had long since left this house. In desperation, I locked her in a wooden box, carved with African symbols for protection. I taped it shut, shoved it into the cabinet, but the weight of unseen eyes never left me. From the shadows, a child's ghost crouched, watching, waiting, as if saying, "You can hide her, but you cannot hide from me." That night, sleep came, but it was shallow, filled with dreams of footsteps and whispers. For a few days, the house seemed quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that presses against your eardrums and makes your skin crawl. Yet, in every doorway, in every mirror, there was the faint trace of her. The ghostly outline always watching, calm, patient, waiting for the right moment to remind me that the terror was far from over. And one evening I heard it again. My name, clear, deliberate, coming from the kitchen. I froze. I knew I had locked the doll away, yet the voice was real. A small figure, translucent and pale, leaned from the shadows, grinning faintly. She was no longer just a doll. She was the echo of something old, hungry, and impossibly patient. I walked down the long hallway, each step careful, measured, but the shadows moved faster than I could. On the ceiling, a woman crawled, bending impossibly, limbs stretching like smoke. I tried to run, but the air felt thick, sticky, pulling me back. And the doll, her eyes glowed faintly at the end, watching me as if amused. This house had become a trap, and I was the prey. I forced myself to check the box. Slowly, hands trembling, I opened it. Nothing. Empty. Relief washed over me until I saw her face, inches behind mine. Translucent, smiling, eyes glinting with mischief. The box hadn't contained her. She had been here all along, laughing softly, whispering that this game was just beginning. In the dust of the hallway, footprints appeared, glowing faintly under the lantern light. I followed them, trembling, until they ended abruptly in darkness. Ahead, a ghost child stood, holding the doll's shadow in her hands, smiling. Every instinct told me to run, but I was rooted in fear, unable to move, watching as the unseen grew ever more real. She appeared, again, at the top of the staircase, her head tilted unnaturally. Behind her, the woman's ghost loomed, grinning, stretching impossibly. I realized then that the doll was never alone, and neither was I. The house had claimed her, and through her it claimed me. Every shadow now whispered, every step echoed, and every glance was a reminder that the line between the living and the dead had blurred. The room shook, lights flickering violently as they approached. Both ghosts, child and woman, closing in, and the doll sitting in the middle, calm, perfect. I screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the darkness. It was no longer a game. It was a reckoning, and I was at the mercy of things I couldn't understand. Things that had been waiting centuries for someone foolish enough to notice. Thank you, Tesprit. I examined the doll. The carvings on her wooden body, symbols of rituals long forgotten. The ghost leaned closer, guiding my hands. Pages of old journals flipped open by themselves, revealing names, chants, warnings. I understood finally. She had never been just a toy. She was a vessel, and the voices, the footsteps, the shadows, they were only the beginning of what she could do. And now, even as I speak to you, I feel her watching. The doll sits at the doorway, lifeless yet alive, and behind her, the ghost woman smiles faintly. She is patient, she is eternal, and she is still here. Some things are never meant to be found, and some names, once spoken, can never be forgotten. I warn you, if you ever hear a soft whisper calling your name in the dark, don't answer. If this tale sent shivers down your spine, and you feel the darkness creeping just a little closer, join our tribe. Hit subscribe, and in the comments write Midnight Archive so I know you're walking with me through the shadows. Every whisper you hear, every shadow you see, we'll face them together. Don't let the silence take you alone.